Welcome back to Black Belt Secrets. I thought I'd do a brief follow-up from my brief discussion of the judgment in the Harry and the Son case over on Black Belt Barrister. I'll link that below in case you haven't seen that. And the reason for coming back in this video is because some people said that the court seemed like it was sitting on the fence, as in the judge's comments made it seem like he was sitting on the fence. Why this is on Black Belt Secrets? Because this is just my personal views about it rather than legal analysis. But my personal views on this come from my experience in court and just the way that certain things are put across by a judge will sometimes mean that the judge just doesn't accept what somebody says, and without going so far as to say you are lying or you're being deliberately dishonest or something like that, a judge is not usually going to do that unless it's of the most extreme nature. And even when it's just abundantly clear that there's not a coherent or consistent set of facts or flow and chronology, and certain arguments that are put are contradictory, then the court is more likely to just say, this is not supported, this is inconsistent, this is not plausible. And so coming back to some of the terms that I picked out in that video for this judgment, one in particular, at paragraph 75, the judge said, the evidence in support of the pleaded case is limited to that of the Duke. It is not strong evidence. So in my personal view, this is not the court or the judge sitting on the fence. This is the judge being quite clear that the judge does not think that this is strong evidence. And looking at some other phrases here, when the judge said that it's surprising that he didn't bring up this secret agreement when he was first challenged about the time limitation on these claims. When the judge says it's inherently unlikely, it's a very formal way of saying, I don't think this happened. So again, judge is not sitting on the fence here. Then again, saying the evidence does not support a secret agreement. The judge quite clearly saying there is no evidence that supports this. And it may even go so far as to say the evidence that there is does not support the case that there was this secret agreement. In other words, the evidence shows something else. It doesn't show that there was a secret agreement. It in fact shows that there was something else. Implausible is another beautiful word that judges often use to say that something just didn't happen. They don't accept, don't believe that it happened. Say that this was implausible that this happened. And that was in context of being that him not remembering. The judge said it's implausible that he did not remember that at the time that he had this secret agreement, and therefore that's the reason he couldn't bring the claim, and so on. The whole argument, remember, being that the argument was inherently changed to say that, in fact, no, it wasn't any longer that I didn't remember or didn't know that I could bring a claim, to we had this secret agreement which meant that I couldn't bring the claim. And so that's the reason for the delay. But the judge ultimately said there is simply no explanation as to why this has been changed, why the lateness of the amendments to this case. At paragraph 68, no proper explanation was given in the evidence for the lateness of the amendment application. Now, the important distinction here being something within the evidence, not the case. So we talk about a pleaded case, so statements of case. These can be your particulars of claim, the defense, the reply to the defense. Sometimes there's a defense and a counterclaim, and then you've got a reply to the defense and a defense to the counterclaim. So you get all these statements of case which state facts as to what happened. Then the evidence is what's given by the parties, by documents, records, and so on. And then the judge essentially has here said there's no proper explanation given in the evidence for the lateness of the amendment application. So this was just a brief recap on one or two of these things, because one or two of the comments suggested that the judge was sitting on the fence. Respectfully to anyone that made those comments, I don't agree in my personal view. In my view, the judge was quite clear here. The judge did not accept the evidence, did not find the evidence plausible, credible. And as I said in paragraph 78, in my judgment, the judge said, it is implausible that the Duke did not remember before March 23 if a secret agreement was made, as he now alleges. That's a very polite way of saying, I don't believe you. So he's saying that he didn't remember before March 23 whether there's this secret agreement, and the judge is saying, in my judgment, it's implausible. It's a very polite way of saying, I don't believe you. The Duke pleaded a case in March 21 that was inconsistent with the estoppel case, relying on the delay running a limitation period, and so on. So there's a lot more to dig out here. Obviously, I'm not in my normal surroundings, but I just wanted to come back on that one point where someone did feel that the judge was sitting on the fence, and I don't think that's the case. I think this was fairly clear. The judge did not accept a lot of the evidence and the pleaded case, the reasons for the change, the factual matrix as it was now arguably pleaded with the amendments that they wanted in. So I will look at these in much more detail, but that's my personal view, which is why it's here on Black Belt Secrets. You get my personal views as to these things. Normally, I'm just telling you this is what the case is. This is what it normally is legally. In my personal view, I think the judge just wasn't buying any of what he had to say. So let me know what you think in the comments. The judgment is available freely online for you to read, to make your own determination as to what you think, whether you agree, whether you disagree. You're welcome to agree and disagree with my personal opinions. In the meantime, I do appreciate you watching my videos, hitting that like button if you find these useful. Make sure you subscribe because you're here on Black Belt Secrets, and I'll see you next time.